Hello, everyone. My name is Fabio Saglimbeni. I'm a TESOL Italy member based in Rome, and I'd like to welcome you to this session of TESOL Italy's 47th convention. Our speaker for this session is Beatriz Eraso. Beatriz holds an MA in TESOL and is a Fulbright alumna. She's a committed collaborative teacher trainer at Higher University of San Andres and Bolivian Catholic University. She's interested in promoting students' autonomy, reflective learning and teaching, and experiential learning. She is currently serving as the 2022-23 EFL-IS chair at TESOL International. The title of Beatriz's session today is Reflective Learning Strategies, getting students' feedback for teaching practice improvement. We also want to get feedback, so I do encourage you to use the chat box and the question and answers box. And I will be reporting your questions to Beatriz. So without further ado, Beatriz, the floor is yours.
Thank you so much. Really appreciate it. Thank you to TESOL Italy. This is the second time I am here with you. And I have to say that every time it's amazing. It's beautiful. I love this idea of hope because it matches a little bit of what I want to share with you, that is thinking outside the box. And thank you, Fabio, for the nice introduction. Yes, I am from Bolivia, currently serving as a chair of the EFLIS at TESOL International. And if you are not part of it, I encourage you to join us. But you're not here for me to invite you, but to talk about how we can get feedback from our students, feedback that will help us improve our teaching practice. So today, hopefully, we are going to talk about what feedback is, how we can get that feedback, and I will share with you 4 techniques that I use in my classes: traffic lights, using memes, exit tickets, reflective questions. Probably you are all familiar with these strategies, but I would like to see a little bit the perspective that we can get from them to get our improvement in our practice, but also how to help our students to self-monitor their own learning progress. So there is a reason. There is a reason why we have to think about getting feedback. It's because when a person, anyone, thinks about, reflects on what he or she is doing, this person is learning about himself and from themselves. And it is our job to help our students also teach them how to reflect and help them solve and create solutions to their learning difficulties, because that is going to make them grow as persons and as future professionals. I mainly teach at a university level, so this is important to me. And that is the reason in which we have to think of this idea of learning from that perspective. But what is feedback? What is feedback? Maybe some of you can type your ideas in the chat box. Maybe Fabio can help me here and tell me what feedback is for you.
I think it's a way to make sure that, by and by, as you progress with your lesson, they're with you, they're following you. It's also a way to, be evaluated by, your work is evaluated by the students, see if it works and doesn't work.
Exactly, and it's very interesting that you're using the word evaluated. From my personal perspective, feedback is not something that only tells you how well or how not so well you are doing things, but also to know how you are progressing in something, right? And the same thing, you do the same thing. You provide feedback to your students. You tell them what they are doing well, what they have to work on, and you provide enough tools for them to get better. Now, this is a very important question that I would like you to think for a moment and share your ideas in the chat box. Do you think students can give feedback to their teachers? Is it possible? Is it okay? Is it acceptable? how do you feel about this idea that your students are going to let you know how you are doing as a teacher, helping them learn? So maybe if we wait for that responses, Fabio, maybe you can share with us what is your personal opinion. I'm going to be torturing
Okay,
you.
I'll be keeping my eye on the chat box, but if I may, respond to that. Sometimes they can't. It's part of my experience. I mean, they don't know what to say, and even if you're asking them, every now and then, is it clear? Are you with me so far? And was this clear enough? Was it too difficult? Was it too easy? Are you getting bored, etc.? Sometimes they will not say anything. Some students are very active and they will comment, but others will keep to themselves. Yeah.
Yes, absolutely correct. I think somebody was raising a hand, and I'm not really sure.
Okay, let's see.
But
yes.
Yes.
Who is it? Somebody wanted to participate?
Okay.
Oh, they just complain about other teachers trying to justify their behavior, so they complain. And also, somebody says they can and they should give feedback, but they don't know how to do it or are afraid to do it, especially if they think it will affect their mark.
Yeah. Absolutely correct. All of you are completely correct. And that's why we have to develop opportunities for our students to give us feedback. It requires a growth mindset. It is not something that like, okay, give me feedback, tell me how the things are going with you. Now, I usually did what you do, Fabio, asking them, are you with me? Are you getting it? Do you understand? Do you have any questions? And as you said, some students may say yes all the time and they are completely lost, right? And sometimes they don't understand that when you ask these questions, what you want to know is, I need to have some information so I can help you better, so I can do my job in a way that is going to better serve you. It requires that as teachers, we change our minds, but also as students, they have to change their minds. And they are the best individuals to give us feedback because they are with us every day. At least I am very fortunate. I have my students from Tuesday to Friday, 90 minutes every day. I know there are other teachers that they have their students just once a week for 40 minutes. It's quite difficult. It doesn't matter. They know you and they know what they need and they can tell you. So we have to help them do that. Now, you can see here in my picture some of the things that I do when I provide feedback to my students. I use this traffic light technique, probably you are familiar with. We're going to talk about that today. And then you see the flowers and the tomatoes. I call this technique the flowers and tomatoes. I take it from the karaoke. So when somebody sings very beautifully, people, applaud, they cheer, they give them flowers. When you are not a good singer, they throw you rotten tomatoes. I'm an expert on getting lots of rotten tomatoes, a horrible singer. Probably you have tried like giving prizes, badges or certificates, using rubrics and teaching your students how to use the rubric to know how well they are doing. It's a very beautiful technique in which you can provide feedback to your students. And finally, asking reflective questions. So I've been doing all these for to give my students feedback, to tell them from my perspective how well they are doing. Now, it is a good idea to adapt these techniques so they can tell you if you are doing well enough for them. And the first strategy is the traffic light strategy. It's very easy to perform. Students can have, drawings of these red, yellow, and green faces, or they can have simply things in those colors, red, yellow, and green. You can use them in person. So you say, okay, if you are doing very well, if you think you are learning well, you can teach this to your classmates and help in the team, then put something green next to you. If you are in between, like it's kind of okay, I would like to see the yellow one. But if you want me to come and provide some help, show me the red one. And it is as simple as that. So they have to monitor themselves and they have to be honest with themselves. They have to reflect on how well they are doing. So they are going to put that color on your desk. So you see the color and then you can approach. Sometimes as facilitators, we walk around the classroom, but the students do not really like to be interrupted. So just let them decide when they need your help. It requires training. It's not going to happen overnight. I didn't succeed like the very first weeks I tried to work on this, but once the students understand the purpose and the process and see the benefits, then they feel free to work on that. You can use this technique when students are working individually, in pairs, in teams. I love having my students working in teams. It helps monitoring. So they have to pay attention how well their classmates are doing. If they don't feel they can help them, they can call you. Self-monitoring is essential. I need to know how well I am doing. And something as simple like this, like I need help because I'm having difficulty in this writing task, it helps to get information. It's a kind of assessment that is going to help, is going to provide you some information, sorry for the repetition, so you can make decisions to help your students. It's a student center because it's not you the only one making the decisions. And that promotes lots of responsibility and accountability as well. Now that we have the World Cup, it's going to start this Sunday, we can use the soccer cards. So instead of just having something read, just ask your students to prepare the cards, or you can use their own cards. I learned this precisely from a webinar that an excellent teacher gave for Oxford University Press. It's very simple. Like, I need to talk with you, I'm having trouble, that's the red one. That doesn't mean that they are kicking you out from the classroom, just in case. The yellow one means exactly I'm somewhere between, and the green one, I'm doing it pretty well. So yes, sir.
There's a question. Kerry is asking, how do you use these cards, these traffic light techniques on online?
I was going to go there. You can adapt the meaning of these cards. Instead of saying like, I understand, maybe not only I understand, like, yes, maybe if you ask the question, okay, are you with me? So they can show you the question if they don't want to speak, or I agree. This movement also helps, right? And then you can have these variations. Now, when we were working online and I was using Zoom, I asked my student to use these emojis, like the happy emoji, the serious emoji, and the sad emoji. So when I was doing some explanation or something, or when I was visiting the breakout rooms, like without interrupting anybody else in the group, they just showed me one of these emojis. And they're very familiar with them. You just have to tell them, like, use the reaction, I'm going to go to you. And I use this with Jamboard. You can see here in the picture, this is Jamboard. I use this with level 1. In my country, we speak Spanish. So it was the very first partial exam. And I wanted students to tell me how they felt it went for them. So I used the emojis and said, okay, what things you liked? And I accepted them. They used Spanish because it was level 1. And then they told me things that, well, they were somewhere in between, things that it was worth mentioning, but probably it was not that bad or that good for them. And finally, what things we needed to improve. So they said, okay, we needed more time, or maybe we cannot, we should not have so many separated tests, one for listening, one reading, maybe they can be combined. And then later in the semester, they started writing their comments in English. So that is one way that you can use it. If you are in the main session and students have their cameras on, that you can use, also ask them, say, okay, show me your cards or show me something in the different colors. So if you are talking to them and maybe giving an instruction and they didn't understand, they can use that. So it is a very, very active. Yes, it's something that students are going to be involved almost immediately. Also, you can use this technique to address the emotions of your students. I have a strong personality. And last semester, I had a girl, this student, she suffered from anxiety, and I didn't know that. But then she told me, Beatriz, I suffer from anxiety. Sometimes I just cannot talk to my classmates. Sometimes I just need to leave the class. And I said, okay, I need to understand. So let's use this. And she had 3 markers of the 3 different colors. So it was not easy at the beginning, like the very first 3 classes. She was like afraid that maybe their classmates would notice that. But then she just got a little bit more confident, and she showed me the red marker, stood up and went out, maybe to the bathroom to breathe, to drink some water or something. And when she felt better, she came back. And the most beautiful thing is that this attitude slowly start disappearing. So at the end, the last month, she never left the classroom. And she was in between green and yellow. So address the feelings of your students once in a while. So instead of asking them, you understand, tell them today the meaning of the colors is how well you are feeling. If you're feeling okay, if you are comfortable. And that's extremely useful. So I would like to know from you, do you think this is something that you can use in your classes? Do you think, can you think of other variations maybe of this technique that can help you in your classes? And I'm sorry if you can see my cat. I hope you can't. I'm at home. So Fabio, what do you think?
Yeah, Carrie's saying yes, she loves it and thanks you. I think I would like to incorporate this immediately. I do have a lot of students with anxiety problems. It's a growing situation after the pandemic, and some people, with for example, eating disorders or things like that, need to be very comfortable in the classroom. Otherwise, they will not be able to come back every day. So.
Exactly.
That's a code. It's it's private between you and the particular student. Can be.
Yes.
So they don't have to be exposed in front of the rest of the class. I think it's a good
Everybody.
idea.
Absolutely. Thank you so much for mentioning that. And that is another thing. If you teach everybody to use it, but with this specific student, you have a different meaning. So this student is not going to be like on the spot, like I am the only one using it. Everybody is using it, but there is a special meaning for that student. So yes, thank you so much. Thank you so much. Now, let's go to something else. Do you recognize this picture? Do you know what this is?
That's me.
Yes. And I don't know if you can understand, but it says, cuando la profe de inglés habla sin subtítulos, when the teacher, the English teacher, speaks with no subtitles. Now, this is a reference to going to the movie, watching the movie in the original language, English, and you don't understand what's going on because there are no subtitles. And this is something that can happen to your students when they go to your class and you're just speaking English and they feel like shocked, right? Okay, so this is a meme. Now, memes are very powerful. First, because they spread all over through social media. You get engaged with them very easily. It's something that probably you and I do every day. At least, believe me, I check memes at least 5 or 10 per day, and I probably share 2 per day. And I say I don't like that, but I have to be honest. They generate lots of excitement. They spread lots of creativity because people can modify them as they want. And they can be interesting tools for to help students to speak up for themselves, right? They have been used a lot in education. They are a beneficial tool to do various things, to engage them, to provide a nice rapport inside the classes. If the students are a little bit more advanced, they can talk about what it is presented in the meme. And if you teach them to create their own memes, they are also going to develop their technological skills. So what you can do in memes in the classroom, you can reinforce rules and policies. You can bring grammar rules, punctuation rules. They can build vocabulary. You can begin your class or begin a new unit with some humor using these memes, or you can, assess a little bit if they are really reading the text that you assigned, or if they are really understanding what you are trying to present in your class. I have some examples here. So maybe you can type in chat, number one, what is this meme about? Number two, what is it about? Number three, what it is about. I'm going to give you like 10 to 15 seconds to participate, please. It would be very nice. Okay, you, Misha, say hello to everyone. I'm sorry, my cat requires attention. Okay, so maybe Fabio, you can help me.
I was thinking, first one looks like disapproval. You're annoying me. Please don't do that. You're distracting me. The second one looks like, please be careful. Let's reflect. Let's think a bit more deeply. And the third one, I can't really see it. It's covered by the chat box.
Yeah, I thank you so much. Number one is a typical meme to reinforce some discipline norms probably in the classroom. Yes. So if somebody is speaking, do not interrupt, right? So something that I agree with my students, we always say, it doesn't matter if it's online or if it's in person. If somebody is speaking, you cannot interrupt. If you want to speak, raise your hand. So you can use this meme to reinforce that. The second one, yes, you have to think a little bit. And this is to teach punctuation, the use of comma. Because if you say just, let's eat grandma, that means that you are going to have grandma for dinner, probably with rice and potato puree, or I don't know. But if you add the comma, the meaning is different. The second one is an example to teach vocabulary, mansplaining, something that I heard in a TED Talk, and I didn't know what it was. My students were asking questions about them, and then I said, okay, this is a way in which, like, sometimes men try to explain women certain things, assuming that they don't know, when in fact they know a lot. So these are some examples that I found that can tell you how you can use memes. And when you use them, like, the mood in the classroom definitely changes. You can use them to reinforce what you're teaching, to break the ice, to check understanding, also for formative assessment. And I found an article in which a teacher used memes even in the midterm exams. Also, students can share their emotions. And when we talk about feedback, sharing emotions is an essential part. Yes. When the students cannot talk to you directly, or when they feel they cannot talk to you directly, we know that we are open to students. But I said, I have a strong personality, and some students feel like, what about if she doesn't understand what my difficulty is? So use memes. These are some of the memes that my students created for my summer class in the past years, and I asked their permission to use them. So check this one about grammar, or not using appropriate punctuation in a grammar test, or when they feel they are not prepared for the speaking part of an exam, when they have to talk to you. This was about emotions. Look at this girl. She said, okay, it was a winter class. They had classes from 8:15 in the morning to 3:15 in the afternoon. It was pretty exhausting every day for 1 month. So she felt tired, and she wanted to be in her cat's paws, sleeping and relaxing. Also, that this student let me know that he was so scared about homework assignments because he thought that they were essential to passing it. If he made any mistakes, he was going to repeat the course. We talked, and that made me think. And I was like, why is he feeling that way? So we talked about it, we clarified things, he relaxed, I relaxed, and then I realized, like, it was the way I presented the instructions. So I changed the way I presented instructions, and things went better for everyone. We were practicing vocabulary regarding emotions and feelings. This is what one of my students created. It was in a summer course. They are so as intensive as the winter courses. And during the pandemic, this was a very common feeling from my students. And also I had some fun. This is my favorite. In my country, in my city, there are two big soccer teams. One is the strongest and the other one is Bolivar. And a couple of times when my students did not do a homework assignment, and it was like, why didn't you do it? Are you a Bolivarista student? And then I stopped saying that. But then when one of my students didn't do his homework, he sent me the meme. And it was really beautiful. I love it. It's one of my favorites. But also, you can use these things just to have fun. It's a way to tell you that they are sorry, but in a funny way. Definitely, this is my favorite. So there are all these websites that you can share with your students, and they can very easily create a meme. It's not difficult. I learned to do it all by myself. I didn't have to use a YouTube tutorial. I'm proud of it. So if you can learn it, you can teach your students to do it, and you can create opportunities to share memes with you at any moment via messages, via email, or using another app. Now, somebody mentioned already this, that maybe students feel that it's not useful to give you feedback. However, their motivation is going to raise very high if they see changes. When I talk to my students and they said it's probably the way you present instructions that can cause that certain fear in your students, and I changed the way they did it, they really appreciated that they were listened to, right? Now also, yes, no, if I tell my teacher that I am going to fail the course, if you teach them to give appropriate feedback and you learn to receive appropriate feedback and they see that it's a positive result, then they will lose that fear. And probably they are feeling that way because they don't really understand how to do it, and they don't have the practice how to do it. Probably you are the only teacher doing it. So if you create the optimal conditions, then there's no way that they are going to really misunderstand. And they feel that you are being honest with them, so they are going to be able to give you the feedback that you need. Now you can see here on the left that we as teachers, we have been trained to give feedback to our students, right? So this is not new for you. Everything that is on the left is not new. Something that they have not done and that sometimes we don't do is to teach our students, to train our students to receive feedback. And when you tell them, this is something that you have to be doing, you have to ask questions. Ask me, like, make it clear, concentrate on listening to me, be open, reflect on what I am telling you. Just not just accept it and say yes, and do something about it. Don't react defensively, accept the criticism. If I teach my students to receive feedback, I have to teach by example. I have to do exactly the same thing. So if one of my students telling me, Beatriz, this is too complicated, I'm just not getting you. Or he shows me the red cards, or he sends me a meme, the one that you saw about a homework. I had to be reflective, I had to be humble, and I had to make changes. And that means that I have a growth mindset. If you cannot do that, then the things are not going to work well. We always have to teach by example. Another strategy is the exit tickets. Probably you are already using them. I like to use Socrative, and a very good friend of mine, she prefers to use Google Forms. So she has like a template that she adapts for the different groups and classes that she has. Socrative is an app you have for free. It's an exit ticket. Students have just to connect to you. And the first two questions, they are already done. The last question is something that you can vary every time you use the exit ticket. And then you have to take the time to read their responses. Yes. And I love to ask my students what I can do. Ask me, tell me what I can do to help you learn better. And they're going to be very honest. Probably they're going to tell you no, nothing. But when they feel like it is the time to speak up, they are going to let you know. The advantage of this is that you can do, if you have 50 students, you can do it in 5 minutes to all of them, then you will require some time to read them. And somebody is going to be very honest with you. And when they see that this person is getting a benefit from that experience, the others will just start doing it as well. Nothing happens overnight. My dear friend uses Google Forms. So she shared the link of the Google Forms, and she likes to ask, what did you learn in today's class? What was difficult? What you need more practice? What worked well for you? What needs to be changed? And these questions are going to tell you exactly what needs to be improved, right? And this is not an attack against of you, because this is a way to work collaboratively, students and teachers. And this has to be a culture that is going to help everyone. It's going to give you a direction, and it's going to polish the meaning that you have in your classes. You get together, right? And the more we get, the better we'll be, absolutely. So again, I'm going to insist on this. Train your students. First, and more importantly, to avoid judgment. Don't judge your students, so don't accept judgment either. But tell them that there is a good purpose for this. And the purpose is that I am going to be a better teacher, and I will be able to be a better teacher for you. And if they tell you something like, oh no, let's have these tests 3 times or 4 times, maybe that's not acceptable for you or for the school or whatever, offer alternatives for changes. Always elaborate, always explain. Don't just say, let's do this because let's do this. I work with young adults, and they like to receive explanations. That doesn't mean if you have little kids, you're just going to tell them to do whatever they want. You can use these techniques with little kids in a funnier way, of course, easier way as well, but they will need some explanation as well. Be accountable by example, right? And do not focus only on the good things. Mention the things that are not so good as well. I don't know if you have ever seen the reaction of your students when you give them the exams back. They don't go and look, oh, this question I got well. They go directly with what I did not do well. I want to know why. So I had some professors at my master's program, they didn't want to tell me what I was not doing so well, and I didn't understand. So tell them both. Not only the bad things, not only the good things, have a balance. Provide multiple opportunities to give feedback. The same way that you provide multiple opportunities for you to give feedback to them, they have to have lots of opportunities to give feedback to you. And it works pretty well if they work in teams. It's easier. And, you know, if they don't want to talk to you as like individuals, the team is always a support. Finally, the last technique is asking reflective questions. The advantage of this strategy is that your students are going to develop their critical thinking skills and their communication skills, because they have to think before they speak. And I like the idea of helping your students to be more reflective, because I believe in what John Dewey said. He was an American philosopher and educator, and he said that we don't learn what we are doing the thing when we are in a classroom listening to the teacher and practicing. In fact, we learn when we are thinking about what we did, and then we recall all the activities, and then we connect it to what we did before. We connect to what we want to do with it in the future. So the real learning happens when we are reflecting, and usually we are alone. You can ask reflective questions that focus on the learning, on the knowledge. So what have you learned well? What are your weaknesses in your learning? What can I do to help you learn better, right? I use these with my students, and I ask them to record a Voki that lasts just 1 minute, and then every 15 days, they tell me, oh, I learned this pretty well. I like the vocabulary activity because it helped me this, and this. I don't know these. I need to practice this, and this is my plan. This is what I am going to do to improve. Or you can ask them to give you feedback on the activities that you did in that class. And I try to do this every day with my students. It takes me like less than 5 minutes, 3 minutes, the last 4 or 5 minutes of my class. It's a routine that we have. And I ask them also about their feelings. And I just don't accept, they tell me, oh, I like playing that game, that board game or whatever. Tell me why, elaborate, and give me suggestions. And when they give me their suggestions, I just don't accept, let's play Kahoot. Why do you want to play Kahoot? Or let's have a break. Why do you want to have a break? Always ask them to elaborate, right? Now, you do this in your classes, but probably they are going to talk to all the teachers or the administrator or the parents, and the parents are going to talk to the administrators, to your supervisor.
Please, just a second, maybe. I'd like to remind you that we don't have many minutes left, so...
Yes. I am about, don't worry.
Okay, cool.
I am about to finish, don't worry. So it is possible that, yeah, it has happened even to me that some students are not really authentic when they give me their feedback. They can provide some revenge, like I don't like her, I don't like him. They don't want to take this responsibility. But if you are very systematic and you explain, then it is going to work well for you. Other teachers may say that, no. And you know what they are going to, teachers start doing? They start doing things and playing things, and let's do songs. They are not going to be focused on teaching because they want to be liked, right? This can happen. This can happen if this is used like, okay, if you have a great score, then we are going to give you a course to teach next semester. But if we teach our students that the feedback is to improve what we do every day in classes, and that is going to benefit them, and we try to take them out from this culture of the mark is the most important, then this is going to work. I have heard one of my bosses said, no, this is something that is just fashionable now, but it's going to pass. No, that's not going. It is not true. Reflective teaching, reflective learning is something that has to come to stay, because that is what the professionals of this century requires. If we do not do this well, if we do not develop the techniques well, it might create a toxic environment, but you are the one that can change that. Because, being honest, there's no reason for our students not to give us feedback. There's just no reason. They know you and you know them. And also, these ideas can help you become a reflective learner and a reflective teacher. Now, talking about this, we can stay 3 more hours, but as you say, as you hear Fabio, we don't have that much time. But if you want your students to be creative, if you want your students to communicate better, to find solutions, you have to teach them to be reflective. And to be reflective, they have to be trained in self-monitoring and doing something to improve that. Because, as I said, we are not perfect. We always have room for improvement. And thank you so much. I think we have some time for questions and answers.
Yes. Rebecca's writing, she says thank you, and she says she loves the ideas you gave. She would love to hear if you have a favorite practice or two that you use to reflect on your own teaching practices.
That's very interesting. I usually take note of what I do. I record the reactions of my students and my lesson plan, like there's a small note or a lot of a sticky note. But my best, what I love the most is to hear what my students say. So I like these Voki reflections when every 15 days they talk about what the things. I really pay lots of attention to that. And I write down what they tell me every day about the activities that we do in classes. And not very frequently, because sometimes we don't have that much time. Like probably once a month, I devote at least 30 minutes to have a conversation in the class. right? So let's talk about these. Let's talk about this other. And my students work in teams. They discuss it, and then they go to the board and they write down their observations. I use the emojis in that case a lot, and I take pictures and analyze that. It has to be a constant practice for me, because I think I have improved as a teacher. And my students say, "Oh, Beatriz, you're a good teacher." But I'm not a good teacher because I have the ability, I was born with it. It is because they tell me what they need, and I what they want.
Definitely, and this is also, the time concern we all have. If you make this part of the lesson or part of the relationships you have with the learners, it is actually an investment of time and energy. And I think
Absolutely.
I will take away a lot of good tips from this inspiring talk. Our time is almost up, so it's time to say goodbye. So on behalf of TESOL Italy, I would like to thank you, Beatriz, and all the participants for taking part in this session. The next session will be at 4 o'clock. And I will remind everyone that certificates of attendance will be available to download from the website at the end of the convention. So thank you very much. Bye-bye.
Yes, and just in case, if anybody would be interested in receiving the link of this presentation, I would love to. I would love to hear from you if you try any of these strategies, and if you would like to share the results. And I'm really interested in collaborating with other teachers. So thank you so much. Again. Take care, Fabio. You were amazing. And thank you to TESOL Italy from the bottom of my heart.
Great.
Bye-bye.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
You said that the road to happiness was long and winding. You said that the forest would get dark, and that the ground could shift here upon this hill we're climbing. No matter how close we get, we're still so far. But I trust we'll find the clearing. I'm trusting the trail. No matter what we're feeling, there's one way we can't fail. Let's just keep hiking. Let's plant our feet. Let's just keep hiking. Keep hiking with me. Hold my hand, baby. Keep hiking with me. You said the road up to success was an impossible test unless we had some sort of map. And I could feel it in my chest just as our feet begged us to rest. I think this just might be the end of that. But I said I trust we'll find the clearing. I'm trusting the trail. No matter what we're feeling, there's one way we can't fail. Let's just keep hiking. Let's plant our feet. Let's just keep hiking. Keep hiking with me. Hold my hand.